Hi, and back by popular demand, it's me. I want to do a follow-up to a video I did called The Most Important Question the Atheist Cannot Answer. And of course that question is, where did we come from? And of course, me doing that video, the basic premise of the video is that the atheist has no answer as to where we came from. And I dealt with it more philosophically because obviously I believe the atheist based on not only philosophical conclusions, logic, and as I'll talk about more specifically here, even scientifically. I believe the atheist is forced to believe that we came from nothing, that something somehow sprang out of nothing. Now, many atheists have misrepresented them in saying this, and that may be true to their particular view, because as in with all worldviews, there's all sorts of nuances. For instance, if someone accused me of praying to Mary and saying how stupid that is, I would say, well, that's nice and I agree with you, but you're not talking to the right Christian, because that's Roman Catholicism. And just like there's nuances of belief within Christianity, there are nuances of belief in atheism. And I have spoken with people who believe that it was possible from something to pop out of nothing. And I've even had several comments that said that's even more, they would rather believe that than believe in God. And there's also been a major physicist and a major author of atheism that have also cited these things as well. So without getting into all the details of responding to all the different comments, let me deal with something that a lot of atheists, such as username Wine is Your Friend, I think it was, said that my argument was a straw man and that I'm not dealing with what he believes. Well, that may be true. I don't know him. I don't know exactly what he believes, but reading his videos, this is not going to be a direct response. I can maybe do that later. But I felt the need to discuss why I believe that the atheist is forced to believe, not only from things I mentioned before, again, that the universe came that the universe came from nothing. So I guess philosophically speaking, we would have to, you're then discussing infinite regress. You're talking, that's logic, I guess. Then you're talking about the fact that if there was an infinite amount of period, if there was an infinite period of time in the past, then how would we ever reach this point? And there's all sorts of arguments that can be used against that are logical and philosophical. But again, I want to specifically say be scientific. Now, the things I'm going to be talking about very briefly, bird's eye view, not meant to be any kind of detailed analysis of the situation, but I'm hoping to leave a breadcrumb trail and at least represent it well enough for you to go and do your own research and understand where I'm coming from. Now, I'm going to be talking about some of the work that J.C. Doppler and Edwin Hubble did. Now, there was two theories that I know of that exclude God, that say the universe is infinite. Because if there is no God, then obviously matter has to be eternal. There's no other option philosophically, because non-existence cannot spring into existence. It would have to be a self-cause, but a self has to exist to produce a self-cause. So that's completely irrelevant, completely illogical, as many of the atheists that wrote me said. So, okay, so what's the other thing? There was something that has always been there. There's something that has been eternal. Now, has that thing been the universe, or has that thing been God? So, if the universe has already been here, has always been here, there's several theories. One that was popular until the Big Bang got popular was the steady state universe theory. And the fact that the universe has always kind of been the way it is, just kind of steady, galaxies just kind of floating out there and doing their thing. And of course, scientists were kind of perplexed by this view because they're wondering, based on gravity, why the galaxies weren't coming together and different things. And then, thanks to the work of J.C. Doppler and Edwin Hubble, we see that the Doppler effect, we understand that basically the Doppler shift in the light frequencies and the light waves of the light that's reaching Earth from distant galaxies, we understand that the galaxies are moving away, and that they're all moving away, and that they're moving away in a speed that is proportional to the distance away. In other words, the farther they are away, the faster they're moving away. So this gives us the idea that everything's moving out from a center point. So this makes me want to talk about the oscillating universe theory, because the steady state really is not really lining up with the evidence, and no serious scientists that I know of, and I'm sure there's maybe one out there, but none I know of believe that anymore, really. Based on the radiation temperature of the universe and different things, and the Doppler shift, and the fact that things seem to be moving out from a central point, even though we don't know where that central point is, really gives us a lot of evidence that the universe is expanding, and that it is expanding from a point that it came from a center point sometime in the past. Okay, now if the universe, then this leads to the theory, if matter is eternal, then the universe, and we're pretty, you know, a lot of people believe it came from a Big Bang or it came from a center point. This leads to the oscillating universe theory. In other words, the universe big banged out, and it goes out, and because of gravity, the universe will pull itself back together again. But there has to be enough mass in the universe to create enough gravity to cause the universe to collapse back in for another big bang that would eventually happen. Now here's the point that I want to make, that there has to be enough mass in the universe for that to happen. Of course, I just said that. But my point is the fact that currently, and again, you're going to have to go look this up for yourself, and if something has changed about this, you know, you can let me know. But from what I can tell and what I've read, currently only 10 to 20% of the mass needed for the universe to collapse again, it currently exists in the known universe based on what we know at this point. So unless there's an as of yet unobserved force that's going to cause this universe to collapse again, right now there's not enough mass to make it happen. So that forces us to believe that the universe banged out, but it will continue, the universe will to expand. So there's not enough mass in the universe to cause the universe to collapse back in. There's not enough, I guess you'd call it a net gravitational effect or something like that. Okay? So what some people have theorized is perhaps there's some invisible matter. There's these things called neutrinos. They're tiny chargeless particles that rarely interact with the matter that we know, and a lot of people believe that a lot of them were created at the time of the Big Bang. And they believe that perhaps these neutrinos would maybe fill in the rest of the mass, this invisible matter that we can't see, that would create enough gravitational effect that the universe would collapse back in again and then rotate, and then we'd have this oscillating universe. However, there was a supernova in 1987, supernova 1987A, ironically, that we saw the light from that coming to Earth. That light took 170,000 years to get here in Earth time. And also, ironically, at the same time, a flood of neutrinos from that also were detected. So what am I saying? That tells us a lot about the neutrinos, and if they would have enough mass to fill in the blanks, if you will, to cause the universe to collapse again on itself. Well, if the neutrinos, and they did, arrived at approximately the same time as the photons, the light particles, or whatever you want to call them, then that means, as according to Einstein, anything that can travel at the speed of light or even close to it has a zero rest mass, which means if they have any mass at all, it's so tiny and negligible, it wouldn't have any effect. So what am I saying? There is not enough mass in the universe, based on the science that I have read and the things that I know about, to cause this expanding universe, and all the evidence we've seen is that the universe is expanding, to collapse again and start all over again. So that would drive us to force us to believe on what we currently know, that there was a starting point. There had to have been a starting point. And if you go back to a Big Bang, there had to be a Big Banger. There had to have been a self-existent, an uncaused, an unmoved mover, a personal, eternal, outside of time and space, transcendent creator God who started all these things. Now, some of this information I've got from a book I read about 10 or 12 years ago called Genesis and the Big Bang by Gerald Schroeder. Even if you totally disagree, I think you'd probably find it a fascinating read, because he shows how modern science and the Bible agree perfectly. He talks about Einstein's theory of relativity and how is the universe, well, you read it. Get the book. It's really good. He talks about how the millions of years and the 6 days are compatible. And if the universe had a beginning, it had to have a beginner, someone that got the ball rolling. The universe could not self-cause itself. Therefore, I believe the atheist with this knowledge is forced to believe that something must have come from nothing.